Yeah, let's go. Yeah. It's a concert.
That's like, dude, we both bought a ticket. I have the right to stand up. I'll just go with you here if you don't mind.
Yeah, there's no one here.
Fire's bright, overwhelming your eyes. It's on my mind. Got me wild, turning around inside. Your endless eyes, creeping up heavy inside here. I know you feel the same way as I do now. Let's make this a meaning. Lovers for a night, lovers just tonight. Won't stay here with me long, all tonight. It's just an evening when we make our passing pictures. You want to roll up into a secret return. Then tomorrow we'll go back to the end.
Tomorrow we go back to being
Say you will tonight. Let's be lovers, oh please. Tonight, let's be lovers. Say you will tonight. Let's be lovers. Maybe some spoken, but inside I'm screaming. I'm the road that's a Satan. Oh my love, tonight let's go on waiting. Oh, won't you see all this evening, all this strip down, strip out of this. One night sweet loving, begin with this wicked kiss. Away. For tomorrow we'll be like to real friends. No, but tonight you'll be my lover,
What up? What up? It's your boy Conserviz34 back with another Saturday night stream. And today I got a couple of topics that I want to go over. We're going to start off with some social media hyping by the band. And they're going to get to a new awareness of what may happen with concerts potentially being delayed, and then we're going to finish off speaking to a longtime DMB fan here about Dave Matthews Band, and I'm excited that the tour is supposed to start this upcoming Friday, barring any crazy COVID cancellations or shutdowns plus a COVID cancellation. But I hope that's not the case. But we want to start off first with what's been going on with the social media page for the Dave Matthews Band. We have gotten a lot of hype up recently from the Twitter, Facebook, Instagram from the band, and we want to take you through some of that because they're saying the thing with DMB Media is a lot of this stuff is pre-planned. A lot of this stuff is timed an extent to kind of get you know get people to comment, interact, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're listening to what people are saying. So we want to go to the Twitter page for the band and take a look at some things that have been going on here in this past week. The band has been practicing in Charlottesville, Virginia. They have been at the University of Virginia in Charlottesville, and they're playing at John Paul Jones Arena, where they have actually taken the stage many times for their homecoming shows that they have had over the years, some of them in the spring, some of them in the fall. But they're essentially practicing here at JPJ, and they're displaying that on their social media. So if we take a look here, they're essentially practicing behind one of the baskets. And what it looks like is they're not facing out towards the crowd. They're facing the bleachers, which would really be behind the stage. And I think it's just so that Dave can kind of see everyone and talk to them and look back. And then, they pretend to play to the seats. So that's a cool overhead view of the band. They got Buddy Strong there. Look at Buddy chilling and playing the keys. Hopefully we can hear him this year. And the reason I say that is because everyone plays over him and they don't turn him up on the keys. They can turn the organ down. I don't care about that, but the keys. And there is Jeff or Sean. Tim's over to the side, to my dismay, not with an acoustic guitar. He needs to be. As you guys know, I love him with an acoustic guitar versus the electric. And so that was earlier in the week. They have 10 days to go here to hype up. And they have a summer tour warm-up. They have another guest for DMB Radio, What Would You Play? And hey, man, Ari, if you're listening, Sirius XM Radio, I would love to be a part of that. They've been having some people that have been able to pick. Fish does this with actual average Joe fans. It seems like the DMB Radio, it's more popular people. But hopefully they get some average Joe fans like me to be able to take some selections and picks. And some crew shots here. The team that turns Tim all the way up. Let me stop. Let me be positive. But this is, some shots here of the crew. Look at Rab. They won't be able to hear Dave's voice because Rashawn and Tim are playing over him. But Rab has also been on social media. Rashawn and Jeff have been on social media kind of showing a lot. Haven't seen much from Stefan. Busted Stuff anniversary, and then we get some more. Right, it's officially 1 week to go yesterday, and you're getting some close-ups. It looks like Dave has the same stuff. Everything from the photos doesn't look like there's any new guitars, new basses, new keyboards. Everything looks the same. Now, Rashawn experiments with different horns, but really that's not a big thing. I mean, it's a trumpet, it's or the other horns that he has. You're not going to get much out of that. The main thing is when you have a different bass, electric guitar, an amp. Those are bigger things here. And there also has been some things, if we go to Jeff Coffin, because we've gotten some lyrical and I may have to switch to Facebook, but we've gotten some lyrical teases. Yeah. Let me switch over to Facebook for just a second. I want you guys to see. And sometimes there's more things on Facebook for engagement than Twitter and Instagram. And let's be honest, most of the DNB fan base is more apt to Facebook than Twitter or Instagram because of most of the fan group. I mean, most of the fan base is in their 40s, 30s and 40s and 50s now. Some people on the old end, but just going to shift this over for a moment. And my biggest concern is they are teasing Hello again here. I don't want this song to start the tour. And I made an angry face there because so they Hello, they're teasing that, and they also teased Stolen Away a while back. If I can find it here, maybe it was on Jeff's page. There was a Stolen Away reference. I think that was by Jeff, but we'll have to. I don't see it now, but anyway, you do have this kind of they're building this thing up every year. You do see some posts. It seems like they have a little more posts than there's more things being posted than your standard year. And the next thing we want to get to here is we want to get to the Foo Fighters. And this is just what happened here is the show that was supposed to be today for the Foo Fighters. It actually was postponed due to a positive test. And we're going to bring this. All right. So Foo Fighters said, despite having made every effort to follow CDC COVID protocols and local laws, there has been a confirmed COVID-19 case within the Foo Fighters organization. This is somebody that's been touring with them or been associated with the band, had contact with the band. Due to HIPAA, they're not going to expose who it is. Out of an abundance of caution and concern for the safety of the band, crew, and most of the fans, Saturday's show at the LA Forum, which is supposed to be tonight, is being postponed to a later date. A new date will be announced. Tickets for the July 17th date will be honored for the new date. And it comes a month after their Madison Square Garden really debut of coming back after COVID, which was very close to me. I was at Madison Square Garden in May as well for a pretty full Knicks playoff game. So, but this was the first concert. There's a video that's online. I believe it's on YouTube that actually documents that show, like the day the music came back to MSG. Now, this is where I'm at, right? So me personally, just to give you a backstory, I have received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, right? I thought it was for the best interest for me to get the vaccine. I personally believe that this whole idea of, oh, what's the side effects? Listen, we have soda, we have alcohol, we have so many things, chemicals. If they wanted to get us, they could get us everywhere else. And you know what? The vaccination site I went to, it was black people, it was white people, it was everyone. So I had no fear to get this shot. I understand why people are concerned, but I thought it was the best decision for me and some of my family to get this shot here. I have lost a family member to COVID-19 within my family. There's been a family friend who has passed. So I definitely understand this virus is real. And that's why I've gotten the shot. And I believe that if those who feel comfortable should get this shot, right? But what frustrates me here is, here's a couple of things about the Foo Fighters. The Foo Fighters, you can't get into a show unless you are vaccinated. So if there's a concern for the fans, every fan that gets in there is either vaccinated or they did a heck of a lot of work to fake their vaccine card to get in. I don't know with the crew, if they had to get it or not, but I'm assuming the band members are vaccinated since they're promoting on their social media. They played a concert during COVID and were encouraging people to get the shot. So the band itself, to my knowledge, is at least Dave Grohl is vaccinated, right? I can't speak for every other band member, but he's been pushing this so much. What's frustrating about this, what's frustrating about Yankees Red Sox being postponed on Thursday here in my area of the country, is if everyone who wants to get vaccinated has the vaccine, if the Foo Fighters, even past that, are saying you can't get in unless you're vaccinated, what is the concern? Now, if there's a hospitalization we don't know about, if someone is really sick or something, okay, maybe that's I can see that concern. But this says out of an abundance of caution. The whole rollout of getting this vaccine was that, hey, even with these variants, you can get this vaccine. It will protect you and sharply reduce your odds of having to go to the hospital or dying of COVID-19. So if that's what's being pushed out by the CDC, why are we canceling sporting events and why are we canceling concerts when this vaccine, if you took it, you were supposed to then be in a position as of right now, July 17, 2021, where you are protected from the likelihood that you are going to die from this vaccine or go to the hospital. You can catch COVID, doesn't matter. It's a vaccine. You're still going to catch it, but it's going to prepare your body to not have to go to the hospital, not be on a ventilator 99.9% of the time. Okay, maybe not that amount, but it's overwhelming odds that you would be protected. I don't understand why things are still being stalled out. There are flus, there are other pathogens, other things that go on any given tour, especially going across the country. And rightfully so, if someone is really sick, they will postpone a show. But crew gets sick all the time. But the show goes on. And if we're making all this time, if we're paying more for tickets, we're paying more for gas, we're paying more for flights, and there's not a severe concern of real emergencies that if someone from this crew infects someone else, anyone with this vaccine is going to the hospital. Until that is a possibility, we should not be postponing shows. Period. What D&B will do, what other bands will do, I hope it's not as severe as what the Foo Fighters are doing. I hope that as long as everyone's okay, as long as someone's not feeling fuzzy or weird or just they can't perform their duties for the stage, right? We want the stage to be safe and ready. For the sound, for the lighting, or for the band, we should be having live music in the local venue that we've decided to go to. Period. Barring anything that's not safe within real, not just a fear tactic or an abundance of caution. There should be shows. There should be baseball games. There should be hockey game. Whatever it is, it should go on unless things change with where we're at. Because it's hypocritical for the CDC to say, oh, you guys are good. Yes, this variant's out. Be vigilant. Be careful. But if you have the vaccine, we still have faith in this vaccine as of July 17, 2021. We suggest some people wear masks. But even so, if you have this vaccine and you don't wear a mask, you're going to be okay. So that's where I'm at with this whole potential. And this is something that it's a real concern. It's a real concern just because if this is how everyone's going to act, like the Foo Fighters, spoiler alert, some people are going to catch COVID in these crews of all these bands that are about to tour in the next couple of weeks with full capacity. Jimmy Buffett already went to Deer Creek, and there's been some other shows this week for full capacity. But someone is going to catch COVID in these crews. But if it's postponed because of that, you're going to have more postponements. But if the crews say, look, we're not going to take, look, we're going to play on, barring any sort of person not feeling like 100% or not feeling well enough to perform, the show has to go on. I mean, you can't keep postponing things when everyone's gotten these vaccinations and gotten ready and invested in these shows to come back, and there's no real credible likelihood that the odds have changed. So that's where I'm at with that. And now, without further ado, we are going to bring on a DMB fan who has been a fan of the band since the mid 2000s, has been to many shows, has passed on many taper shows to me, educated me about how the band sounded before I started going to shows. We are going to bring in Mr. John Dix from Tennessee here.
Good evening. How are you today?
I'm doing well.
Thanks for bringing me on. I really appreciate this. Thank you so much. I've enjoyed your channel since I first saw you a couple years ago, and I really enjoy the friendship and the back and forth and debates that you and I share quite often outside of public view. And I do respect your channel. I respect you a lot, and I really enjoy seeing your glow up in this YouTube game. I really appreciate everything you're doing, man, for the community.
Thank you. Thank you. Where's my donation? Gifts. Gifts.
Yeah, donations. Hit that super chat, PayPal, Venmo.
Yeah. So I want you to start off. Just tell us, how did you get into the Dave Matthews Band?
Well, it's kind of an odd story. Back in 2003, my good friend Josh was a huge Dave fan, and he had been going to shows since like the late '90s, and he would always play it at work, and I hated it because at that time I was listening to like trap music and like heavy metal, and the Dave and Tim tour, '03 tour, had just got announced, and we were like 19, 20 at the time, and the guy that got him in the DMB canceled on him like 2 days before, and he was really bummed because it was like a 14-hour drive to the Norfolk, Virginia show. And he was like, "Hey, if you help me drive, it'll be really," because he's like my best friend. So I helped him drive to the show, and I didn't pay for the tickets or whatever. And I was like, "Yeah, you're my boy. I'll suffer through this just because I got love for you, whatever." So we go to that first show, 32603, Dave and Tim at Norfolk, Virginia, and I went to the show, met a couple people there, and it was just something I never experienced before, just by meeting random people at a show. And so then the night before, after that, we went to the 328 show, and then I was hooked ever since. And then I was like, I got to see a band show. So I went to the Nashville show in September that year, and then after that, it was off to the races. 74 shows later.
Wow, that's a lot of shows. Just to get to that, so before you actually got into the band, what were some of the things that maybe had turned you off from even trying to consider getting into the band?
Like listening to it, like in the car, and when you're not familiar with the band, and then being at the show, and because being at a show is more than just seeing the band, it's the fans, it's the experience, etc., meeting new people, the community that the band comes with. Um, but listening to it in the car just does not do it justice, because at that time I'm listening to like Tool, Marilyn Manson, Gucci, Ludacris, all that stuff like that. And so when you hear like a violin and a trumpet, I mean a saxophone, and then you hear this guy with this squealy voice, it just doesn't translate very well. You have to actually be at a show to really understand like the magic of D&B.
Gotcha. And I can relate to that a little bit because I was into the wannabe metal, new metal, Linkin Park, and some of those bands that when being a teenager at the time, it was definitely a lot more harder of a rock than what you get from DMB, and same thing with a little the hip hop Ti, Urban Legend,
Right.
back in the day, the Black Album, Jay-Z. To I liked different types of music, but the recordings, like I had Ants Marching allegedly off from a mix CD. I don't know where my friend got Ants Marching. It could have been from iTunes. It could have been from another source. I can't allegedly. He got it from some sort of source. I cannot for legal purposes. I can't tell you where he got it from, but
most likely you sell the high seas to get it.
What's that?
I said most likely you had to sell the high seas to get it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I felt this idea that, okay, this is cool, but I don't think I see myself getting into it until I went to shows later on. And now, as far as the shows back when you first started, how do they compare to what you get now from the band?
I always tell people, like, compare DMB to now to when I first started, and I got started. In my opinion, I feel like I got started late. Like I was at the very end of the band's prime. I feel like that '03 to '06 was like the end of the prime. '07, '08 was like, we're at the very end. And then when Roy passed, Jordan retired from the Bulls basically, And I basically go to shows now, like I'm doing 13 plus shows this year, but I mostly go now just for the experience of meeting friends that I don't see very often. And, just chasing out one or two songs that I'm looking for. But I strictly don't go just for the music anymore. I go for the entire like weekend experience of going to a Deer Creek or my favorite venue, which is Alpine. Um, but yeah, as far as like the music, you just don't have that same. Well, Dave's voice has changed drastically since I started. That's the main difference. Two, you didn't have Tim, so it didn't sound like arena rock like it does now. And Butch, compared to Buddy, was way more. He was doing more accompaniment type playing. He wasn't actually, playing with the band. He was playing behind the band, kind of. I'm not really like a big music head, but that's the kind of way I'm trying to describe it. And then you had Roy silky smooth playing. And you didn't have Rashawn either. And I like Rashawn in '06 when he first got to the band because it was great watching Roy and him interact. Like Roy, you literally saw Roy like mentoring him on stage in '06. Like Roy would like talk to him during the songs and point to the sheet because they used to have sheet music on the stage with him when he first started, and Roy would like point to him and stuff like that. It was really good to watch them two work together. But it's to me, it's two different bands. Dave Matthews Band in 2021 and Dave Matthews Band in 2003 are two completely different bands. Yeah, they're playing the same songs, but they're not the same songs.
Gotcha. And that's interesting that you say that you were able to observe Roy and Rashawn in that mentorship that was there for a couple of years, about two years or so before Roy passed, and left this earth. And now, as far as albums, what would you say your favorite album is from this band?
Oh, hands down, Before These Crowded Streets. I think that's just the that's the album. It features the most bangers wall to wall. There's really no weak song on that album. All the songs, like classic DMB wise, like all of them sound great live. Even like a slow song like Spoon, it still gets you hyped when you hear that. When you hear that drop at the beginning, and then Dave goes into Spoon. Yeah, it still goes hard. So I think every song on that album, even like the old version of Don't Drink when it's played really slow, I still get excited when I hear like a '98 version of Don't Drink. Because you got Tim in the background playing those fills. He's not like jamming over Dave's guitar on the live versions. If you listen to like the Philadelphia '98 show, or if you listen to Live in Chicago, Tim ain't really showing off on the track. Like he's doing his thing, but he's not playing like lead guitar on it either. Right. And the song is way slower. And then you can see Dave still on that Chet too, as well on the '98 Don't Drinks, which I love seeing too. I love that old Chet guitar, which I actually got to see in person at the DMB 25 in Charlottesville in 2016 when they had like all the exhibits and stuff out there at the show. It was great.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, and I agree. The Philly First Union Center show and the Chicago show, those '98 shows where you have Tim as a guest to the band. I like that mix of Don't Drink the Water and everything Tim did back then. As you know, we've had discussions about this compared to the modern version where I call it Tim CDC. He's playing a hard rock, and I love alt rock. I like a little bit of metal. I'm not fully immersed into it, but I like that music from other bands. I just don't like it with DMB. How do you feel about Tim Reynolds right now in 2021 compared to seeing him throughout when he was officially announced as a touring member permanently to now? How do you you see Tim Reynolds as far as his noise. I mean, his sound levels, his playing in the band now compared to when he first joined this band permanently.
I never saw Tim guest with DMB prior to the '08 tour. So I never got a chance. I wasn't at that era. I think he guested in Arizona at Phoenix in '03. And I think they played like Nancy's and another song. I'm not really sure if my DMB knowledge is slipping to my old age, but I think he guested once in '03 or '04, and then he didn't come back until that 2008 tour. And I think the first show was the Busch Stadium show, which I was at, with the two-step opener. And I remember being at that first show, and we still had Roy in that '08 show. And that show was great. I had a lot of fun at that show. That two-step opener was sick. Tim really hadn't found his stride yet in the band. Like, it sounded pretty much like '98 Tim, in my opinion. I didn't feel like Tim really didn't go off the rails until like Roy left, maybe like 2010, 2011. That's when I feel like he really went off the rails, when they started playing like the Aerosmith song and the Tom Petty song, and now they're doing that Bee Gees AC/DC mashup song. And so yeah, I feel like Tim really didn't find his stride till like 2 years afterwards.
Gotcha. Yeah, that I have that Live Tracks 13 Busch Stadium. And yeah, that two-step Rhyme and Reason.
Listen to that Ants Marching. If you were there, they messed that up, and they started it over again.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, because they started off like a Dave and Tim. If you listen to it, they started off like Dave and Tim, and then they started back over again. It was really, no one really knew what the heck was going on, but it sounded like to me like they messed it up, and then they just went back into full band mode, like they were kind of experimenting with it on the fly.
Gotcha. I have to listen to it because you know what's funny? I listened all the way through to Hey Hey My, the cover, Neil Young cover. I listened to the front end of that album, and that's mostly because I listen to it when I'm doing like a long distance run. But I'll have to check for the back end of that. Plus the back end has Louisiana. It has Louisiana Bayou, and you know I hate Louisiana Bayou.
I've seen that song so many times, it's crazy.
Yeah, it needs to go by. I don't know why they were like, "Hey, let's bring it back with Buddy." I was like, "No." And you know, I'm upset too because they did the bait and switch. They have Robert Randolph coming on Saturday instead of the Flecktones. They moved him. You know, hey, we got we got Robert Randolph, and you know they're gonna do Bayou. You know,
I'm calling it now. Bella Fleck is gonna guest at Riverbend this year.
Gotcha. And isn't he set to do a show like around
the night after? And he has no show the night of the DMB show in Riverbend.
Interesting. So we have to be on the lookout for that.
I'll be there.
So, because I would love to see. I've seen the Flecktones once. I would love to see him with the band here. Now
I caught them in '06 in Atlanta with the band.
Oh, you did? So 06 you caught him.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, how was that, like hearing him?
I mean, they didn't do Dreaming Tree like they did it. Like they didn't do Dreaming Tree. They just did 41. But it was a pretty powerful 41.
That's awesome. Awesome. Yeah, hopefully one day I'll catch them there with the band. Now, with this, there's no violin. There's Buddy is here. We kind of have this period where we have a new album that may flood up the set list. Has any of this, even though you go to these shows to meet people, has any of this impacted like what your outlook is for what shows you're going to, given that there's some factors here that make it so that your fan, it may not be, it may make you question.
No, I've been hitting the same venue since the beginning of time. Like I'll do the local, if there's a Nashville show, which, we get sometimes, I'll do Nashville, and then I'll do Atlanta, and then I'm always going to do Deer Creek Alpine. I just added, I started doing SPAC in 2019, so I'm going to always do SPAC. I'm doing Gorge this year, so I'll just stick to the majors, and then whatever single night venues are close by, like Riverbend. I'll always do Riverbend for my friends that live there, and that's it. And that gets me always in the at least 10 shows a year range right there. Just stick to the little circle of the southeast shows.
That's interesting because now the internet is not the real world, but when I go onto various forums and I see, fans like you that started in, that 03, 02, 03, 04, and fans even before that, 98ers, mid 90s fans, a lot of them, as they have families, as they get married, as they just grow up, right? They used to go and party hard and do all that, and now they can't. They can't go as wild. They have a corporate job where if they wild
Yeah.
out too much and get arrested, they, it's going to hurt them. So how have you navigated, as you get older, as your life changed, as you became a father? How has that impacted, if any, even just your process of trying to get to shows or what you're going to do?
Well, I took time off. I took time off from 2011 to 2014 when my son was born. So I took time off. Now that my son's almost 10, pretty self-sufficient, it hasn't really impacted. Now that I'm older, I can do more shows because I got more money. I'm more stable. It's a lot easier to do it now. It's actually easier now than it was in 2003, 4, 5 when I was bumming money off my mom and dad to pay for tickets.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So now, the older you get, the better to me because, I'm more stable.
That's a good point because it is when you start off with the band, no matter what your age is, your earning potential is going to go up. Your ability to navigate adulthood is going to go up, and you're seeing a lot of bands where you have all these, you have Grateful Dead, you have even like the Who will come out, the Rolling Stones, and you have these fans that now they can afford it, whether they're retired, they're close to retirement, they can
Yeah, I
afford
got $750 on Stones tickets one time, too.
and that's where actually the market is going with everything else. And I know I have some friends who are Stones fans, and one of my friends, his dad knows the members of the Stones, and so I know those tickets aren't cheap in the floor, the stadium lower levels. What do you think about what's going on with Ticketmaster with the variable pricing, with the platinum seats that are now at the back of a Deer Creek or the back of a Hartford or any venue that are selling for $200, $300? What do you think about that? As far as, even though you have the money, but if you see him in person, he's broke. All right, don't go after him in person. He's broke. All right, he ain't got no money. Anyway, but what do you think about some of the changes industry wide with how expensive these tickets are becoming?
It's truly disgusting to scalp your own fans. That's the one thing about DMB. Like, I know they say they have no control over it and blah, 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 but I just don't believe that because I've seen bands like Pearl Jam in the 90s step up and do something for the fans. It's all about I think that it's just terrible, man. Like I don't like I have bought tickets off StubHub off the secondary market, but I refuse to buy a secondary market ticket off Ticketmaster. That's just not happening. Like it's like going to like a Walmart and you purchasing a DVD that's already opened up for $20 more. It's like it doesn't make sense. Like, why am I doing this? And I think it's terrible. I know the band Stefan always says like we have no control over that, but your voice means something. If Dave them wanted to, they could control those ticket prices. Yes, I do understand that touring, everything goes up. Like inflation is real. Everything's expensive. But to charge $300 for like Upper Pavilion, the back of Upper Pavilion is ridiculous. And then to charge I even feel like Warehouse Premium is kind of a scam too. $350 for a ticket, 2 posters, and a bag. That's crazy. That's crazy. Like I can't get behind it. Have I purchased these tickets in the past? Yes. Um, but I think it's robbery because I remember a time when you can get an upper pavilion ticket for $85, and that's after fees and all that nonsense. And
Right.
so I think, and then scalping the pit, like on day, like when the tickets go on sale and you're scalping the pit day one on the on sale, that sends the wrong message to me.
Right. And I agree with that logic. And I know some fans
Hey,
say,
I gotta
I'll
step
never.
out for a brief moment, okay? My batteries, but then I'm gonna come right back to you, okay?
Okay. All right. But I agree with John as far as the chain of command with the tickets. Meaning he'll buy a ticket on StubHub for more than face, right? But he doesn't want to buy a ticket from Ticketmaster where they're reselling that ticket trying to be scalper, or the platinum seat is expensive. I really liked, about 10, 15 years ago, the chain of command. So yes, the band will miss out. They won't be able to scalp their own tickets, although knowing some people that have worked in the industry, some of them technically can do that on the low. They channel it through anyway. But the point is, I know the band says, look, the tickets are going to be higher on StubHub anyway, but when you have a certain price on Ticketmaster and they don't try to play broker, and then the tickets are higher on StubHub, what happens is you're, at least from the primary, if you get a primary ticket, you're not paying an arm and a leg. And what happened on StubHub prior to some of these price hikes and the resale Ticketmaster, if the face value ticket was lower, yes, you may pay a little more on StubHub, but the floor price of that ticket was lower. So that means the scalpers would sell it for a little more. But if the ticket was going for 85 or 70, at one point, the pit was like $75, $85 plus fees. And then, yes, that ticket may be 200 for SPAC, but you're only paying 200 for SPAC through a broker. And yeah, the band misses that money, but at least you're paying less through the secondary than if the ticket starts off at 115, or if in other bands, or even now with the dynamic pricing, it starts off at 500. Essentially, a fan isn't going to get it for the face value. They're going to have to pay 500, or they're going to have to pay whatever the brokers raise it up to if they want a pit ticket. So I believe in the prices being lower on a primary through the warehouse, and then them going up higher. Although I will say that DMB's pricing isn't as bad as some other bands. The 115 plus fees, while they've extended that through to the mid to upper pavilion at certain venues, that's still not as bad as some other bands where the face value is more. And even the dynamic pricing of a DMB show, it could be worse. I've seen Dead and Company and some other bands that have charged more for their dynamic pricing than DMB. So it could be worse, but it could be better with as far as that. And hello, I don't know if Typical Times, aka Ron from Colorado, is still here. DMB Mamas, thank you guys for coming in. That was my good friend John Dix, and he is out of Tennessee, greater Nashville area. And it was great to get some of his insight, some of his opinions and thoughts. And I think one of the most interesting things about John is he says, hey, man, like, I'm still going to go to 10 shows. It doesn't matter what the band sounds like. It's about the memories. It's about the people. And I'm slowly getting over to that part of it myself. I've gotten more to, hey, you know what? Like, regardless of what they play, I'm going to the Gorge. Regardless of what they're playing, I'm going to go here. Next year, I want to go to Deer Creek to meet people out in Indiana. Yes, that's a big venue, but I'm still going to go. And I think that I found, too, the meetups and getting to know fans, even fans next to me that I don't expect to meet at the show, but they're just nice seat neighbors. And that's what this community is more about to me now than the actual set list. I do have my complaints, and I do have my I don't want to hear Hello Again as the opener. um, as you guys know, and that's partially. Yeah, at the same time, you know, it's not as big of a deal. I do push and hope for this band to pull out special things. Without a doubt, I hope that they put away certain songs. Without a doubt, you'll hear that from me. But I think the travel is more important. And let's just say I don't want to. I'm not saying this doesn't happen. If the Gorge shows were postponed or canceled, I would still have stuff to do in Seattle. Period. I would still have things to do in Seattle, and I would have a ball doing those things, visiting, exploring, driving, and I hope that everything goes well. I don't want to wish ill will as much as sometimes I can seem like I'm pessimistic on even with the beginning of this year. I said there were going to be no DMB shows. I was wrong. I'll admit that. I still think that regardless of what happens with the shows, I'm looking forward to getting out to Washington, get into the Gorge, explore parts of Seattle I didn't see on my first trip out there, and just having fun meeting up with some of you guys. Shout out to Dave from Shut Up, I Love You. I was able to link up with him in the Boston area. Here, we had a nice lunch and we were talking about DMB and about life and family and careers and things like that. But it was nice to meet another, DMB fan in person. Just really things lined up where I was able to go down there, visit him and my grandmother on Thursday, grandfather as well. My grandparents live out in the Boston area as well. So thank you, Dave, for inviting me to come up when you had an opening in your schedule as you were on a work trip to Boston. So great conversation to the point where, I can talk for 3 hours straight, and he had to catch his flight. So it was nice. Our DMB Mamas. Okay, so you do have your Seattle comedy. That's awesome. I still got to get the flight, but I'm not too worried. At the worst case, I'm just gonna have to bite the bullet and pay it. I have the money, but in retrospect, I should have. I mean, no one knew. I should have gotten it right as the band was announcing, because everything is going up right now. So, and it's more of the Labor Day flight out that's gonna kill me. But in the end of the day, I have the funds. Right? But I should have. I should have gotten. The flight once they announced it, regardless of the price, because with COVID, everything is going up. All right, John, we got you back.
Thank you.
Let's see if we can. Hold on, I don't know why there's a third. All right, and let's see. Yeah, so I just was saying as you came off that I like the idea of Ticketmaster having a lower pricing and then not trying to play broker. So either you get a face value ticket that's a fair price, or you pay a little more on StubHub. That's how back in the 10, 15 years ago, that was an awesome system to me, even when I had less money, was to have that. Okay, this is what you pay for face value. Ticketmaster wasn't trying to really do anything crazy with platinum seats or resale unless they were really platinum seats. But now it's gotten to the point where it's
when you're scalping the upper pavilion, like the 10th row in the upper pavilion, it's out of hand. It's out of hand. On day one, it's that.
Right. No, I agree, and I'm actually to the point where for non-DMB, like there's a J. Cole show, where I'm refusing to buy tickets until like a week before the show because I've seen that Ticketmaster, not as much for DMB, unless maybe, I mean, all the shows around me pretty much fill up the pavilion. So I can't say like for an Austin, Texas, when they don't go there every year, but Austin, Texas, you can find a cheap ticket, or other venues. But with J. Cole, I've seen with other artists like Dead and Company in New York City, if you wait until the week of the show, the same ticket that was on sale the week of the show for $200, for $300, it was like $90.
In 2017, during the Dave and Tim tour, the Ascent Amphitheater Nashville, like the tickets were like a lot of people got declined through the warehouse, and Ticketmaster was scalping those tickets for like $300-$400 the night before the show. I refused to buy them. The night before the show, those tickets dropped to face value, and I managed to get 7th and 8th row, night 1 and 2, lower pavilion for face value. Meanwhile, the
Wow.
same people sitting around me paid $300-$400 after fees.
Wow.
Yeah, so that it's a scummy game. Like when nobody buys those pavilion seats, they will unload those at the end of the night before the show, like a ticket drop.
Yeah.
It's just all about being patient. Like it's all about what you're willing to and to not do. It's a scummy. The ticket game was a scummy game, man. And I don't know where the buck stops. As far as is it the talent's responsibility? Is it the management? We already know Ticketmaster is not going to do the right thing by the customer. We already know that.
Right.
There's no point even debating like, is it Ticketmaster responsibility? Because we know they're not going to do the right thing. But should like a Dave Matthews or a John Mayer, somebody who really has clout, I can understand like one of them, but I don't think they care. To be honest with you, they don't care. As long as the check gets direct deposit on the 1st and the 15th, they don't care, man. A lot of people think these bands care about the fans and stuff. They care about your money. That's about it, man. So don't get it twisted.
Yeah, and to put a bow on this Ticketmaster band scam, between Dead and Company, Dave Matthews Band, and even Pearl Jam, yeah, we love our fan. They don't care. They don't care because their tickets are more expensive than even some of these nutcase Kid Rock and all this. The people that they say, oh, we hate these liberal. They hate. They're such hate. They don't spread love. Da 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 da. They're giving their tickets are cheaper than all
Kid Rock
these.
plays for free in Nashville like every weekend.
Oh, at the bar that you sent me a
Yeah,
video.
yeah,
Okay.
he lives there now.
That's the irony though, is that these bands look, I still, this band has been a big part of my life, but I mean, I've gotten to the point, you've only encouraged it more, just to be like, look, they don't care. They
They don't.
don't care. They want you to vote for the same person they want you to vote for. They want you to get the vaccinated. They want you to do this. They want you to plant a tree. And then they want you to give them $1 to so that they can then plant a tree and look good, but it was your dollars. But that's enough complaining about Ticketmaster. Now, as far as this new album, do you want a new album? Did you not want a new album?
Responding to the person in the comments, I said Nashville, Tennessee, not Asheville, North Carolina, just FYI. Do I want a new album? Yes. Do I want the new album before the tour is over? No. I want that album to drop sometime in January or February.
Okay.
And I would. And are they going to road test some new songs this year? Of course they are. Let's not. Night 1, they're going to drop 1 or 2 new songs. If not new, I'm talking about like maybe that Flying Out the Window song or whatever it's called that I don't really care for. But yeah, they're going to play some new stuff. But when the new album drops, you're going to get like 9 or 10 songs a night. So
now, do you want this new album to be new songs, a mix of old and new? Would you rather have it just be old songs? How do you feel about what you want
all
from
new
this?
songs? I don't want no old songs.
Really interesting. Okay.
Well, I don't want stuff that I've already heard before. Like, because D&B, the good thing about D&B is like when they put out an album, typically, you've already heard majority of the stuff. But I would like to have an album like Big Whiskey where everything's new and fresh.
Gotcha. So and I'll let you respond to this, but my thing with D&B is I don't, first of all, I don't trust them to be able to make 10 good songs. And even when they make songs that I love, like Black and Bluebird, Virginia in the Rain, right? Again and Again, which still got play to a certain extent until you got to about last couple of years. But my issue is they make an album where I like half of it, and the best song from that album, it feels like even Big Whiskey, Lying in the Hands of God, does get play, but Dive In to me is a solid live song. It seems like they don't play the songs that I like live after a while. They may test it and tease it at the beginning, and then it goes missing. So how do you feel about that as far as my point of view on that end? Do you feel the same way? Do you just don't care and you want new music? Or
I'm indifferent now. Like this band has like really broken my heart so many times over the years. As far as like the stuff that they decide to play, that like I've given up on, like, you know, play this or play that. Like I'm beyond that now. I'll just take whatever they give me. I know that's, and that's just how Dave, like Dave says, I play what I want to play. And the one thing about this band is, I will tell you, is like they're out of touch of what the hardcore fan wants, and then what, like, the casual fan wants. Like when, like, for instance, like that Nashville 2018 show that everybody pretty much was in agreement it was a terrible show. Every non-hardcore DMB fan that I knew that went to that show thought that was like the best show they ever been to. And that's who DMB plays for. People got to realize DMB is not playing for me and you.
right.
Like if you want DMB to play for you, then you need to go to SPAC, Alpine, Deer Creek Gorge. That's it. Because they
But
know
you know,
that's where the hardcores are going to be at. But if you're
but you know what?
in a random, well, go ahead.
You know what's crazy? And I mentioned this in previous streams. When I went to the Gorge, even at the Gorge, I sat seats for night 2, and a lady by me had to be 40 something. Didn't know. She was like, "What song is this? What song is that?" And even night 1, when Drunken Soldier came back, I was on the lawn. There weren't reactions for those songs.
Of
And
course
I
not.
was thinking, okay, here's this convention of, yes, there's going to be just regular fans, but here's where people literally RV across the country, and I'm going nuts. I'm looking around, and I'm like, no one else is really going. Now Cortez, obviously, like a Cortez got a lot of love, but like they were like, you never know. Night 2, Drunken Soldier coming back after fans, the diehard fans did like that song to an extent. There was no reaction. I was shocked at the Gorge not having those like the SPAC reaction when they played JTR, or the SPAC when I heard what did I hear at SPAC? The Stone Dave and Tim acoustic. Like people went nuts for that. But it was shocking to me to see, and it made me realize that yes, Twitter is about 20% of the real population of the country.
I would
And
say
for
even smaller.
DMB, what?
Even smaller.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. For DMB, it's much less than that. I'm saying 20% of the population has a Twitter account.
Mm-hmm.
About 10% or so is engaged. But for DMB, it's even crazier. It's even more. It's maybe 1 to 2% of the fan base talks about bringing their 9-month-old to see Dave, or they want the deep cut only. Us deep, deep, like me, I'm like, I want this, I want that, I want sugar, I want this. It's only a small percentage. And when I go to these shows, even Hartford, even sometimes in SPAC, I've only been to 2 SPAC shows, but the second one I went to, people were walking out during one of the deep. I think it was like, I can't remember which one it was, but there was a deep cut played, and people are going to the bathroom. So it's like I've really learned after going to the Gorge, it cemented that. Look, some of us love this band, but we are the 1%. We're the, as Kevin Sanders said, we're the
1%.
high value men
Yes.
of the DMV community.
I've been at shows, no lie, where people walked out during Dreaming Tree during the encore, didn't know what it was. I've been to shows where people turned to me and was like, what song is that? It was number 34. I've been to shows where they played. I was at the SPAC show in 2019 when Dave knew Blue Water. The guy next to me was like, what is that? What is that? I've been at shows where people were sitting down during a Halloween in the encore because it wasn't every day.
Wow.
Yeah,
But you know what?
so we are definitely in the minority of the minority.
But I also, as a sports fan, I got my Sixers shirt on. But as a sports fan, I go to shows. So I really thought of about this too. When I came back from the Gorge, is that as a sports fan, I go to see sporting events. Right? I love the Patriots football, but to me, I don't know the middle linebacker they just drafted. Now at the end of the year, I'm gonna know. I'm gonna know who that is. I don't know the third. I don't know the third or fourth person on the practice squad. I just, it's a great game, right? It's a great, but I go to game. I pay money to see. I paid an arm and a leg to see the Patriots during their heyday, and it's 10 degrees out, but I don't know every single player. I didn't even know. I know some of the routes, right? I know, a couple of different routes and slants, but I'm not an expert on football. Now, hockey, yeah, I know more about that. College basketball, a little more. But same thing with NBA, with the six. Like, I know players, but I can't draw up a play, or I can't tell you who's on the minor league team for the Sixers. So I guess I can kind of understand that I pay top dollar to be entertained for sports, but I don't have. When I talk about sports, it's a very base level or theme based thing. So that's where I kind of was like, okay, yeah, I know people on Michigan Wolverines football forums who know like the recruit for 2027 already, that they're recruiting, like the top recruit. So I kind of started to think, okay, this makes sense. I pay a lot of money to see other things that I'm not as heavily knowledgeable about. So I kind of made me think, okay, this makes sense. I go to these games, I pay this money, I go see Sixers, the UConn basketball, all this stuff, but I don't necessarily know everything like I know D&B. So, but yeah, so, and let's see. So you're going to Charlotte in Raleigh. So Raleigh first, Charlotte after that. What
In
are
Atlanta,
you?
I'm doing the first 3 shows of the tour.
Okay, what are you? What's going through your mind now as far as preparing to go down there, just as far as being able to see the band again, being able to see friends? What's going through your mind as we're less than a week away from
I'm just ready to see friends again that I haven't seen in a year or so. Get some good music. Curious to see what the opener is going to be. Um, Curious to what, 1 or 2 new songs they're going to whip out. Just overall, just looking forward to the experience. Doing the first 3 shows, like I just said, and so I think it's gonna be a good 3 shows. Dave's voice should be still very fresh. So, I have minimal expectations. Like I'm not expecting them to play, a murderer's row of songs. Like I'm not expecting like a, Dreaming Tree, Graves Last Stop, Into Spoon, Into Hollow, Two Step. Like I'm not expecting none of that. If I get 1 or 2 good songs over the course of the 3 shows, I'll be happy.
all right. And we'll hope to try to connect with you. We'll see. We'll check in with you on Friday to see if you can give us a analysis, or try to get you on. If not, if the Wi-Fi or the connection's bad, or your headset isn't working, no worries. But we'll try to see if we can get some of your input in here for
Hey, can I
next
weigh
week.
in on your Foo Fighter thing earlier?
Yeah, sure.
I think it's very just ridiculous that they're canceling shows because of COVID. Um, this is my personal opinion, but more people will be hospitalized this concert season for alcohol poisoning and heat stroke than they will for COVID.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and so I think it's just ridiculous at this point. It's time to get back to normal. It's time to, the virus has a 99% mortality rate or something like that. It's ridiculous. Let's just get back to normal. People are going to get COVID. We know that. People are going to get sick. We know that. But that's in any year people get sick.
Right.
We still, the flu ain't gone nowhere. More people die from the flu. I mean, things happen: alcohol poisoning, drug overdoses, blah 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 blah. I think once you buy that ticket and you show up, you sign up. You know what you're signing up for. Things happen. We can't live in the basement for the rest of our lives. We got to get back out there and and get back to normal.
I agree 100%. And DMB Mama says, "Amen, bro." So I know she's has I've talked to her offline and even through the comments, but I know she kind of agrees on that end. But yeah, you're right. I mean, that's the thing is in coming from Connecticut, Hartford is notorious, even though we don't have a show here this summer. It is notorious not just for you have alcohol poisoning everywhere. We have I know people who work the ER at Hartford Hospital. There are kids that literally are 15, 16. And this happens all across the country, but DMB, the tailgating in Hartford, we have 15, 16-year-old kids that are coming in, and there's not as much regulation for alcohol poisoning, for heat exhaustion, because they've been drinking or doing drugs. And then and I agree, that's going to be something that is higher than someone potentially getting COVID or getting sick, even if they don't have the vaccine. So I agree with that. And I'm hoping that as a Pearl Jam fan that you are, I'm hoping that the Foo Fighters is just like Pearl Jam. Remember, they canceled everything like before even the CDC.
Deftones just canceled their shows too.
Oh, the Deftones did too, really?
Yeah, they just canceled their not canceled, postponed to 2022.
Okay. So I'm hoping that the Foo Fighters are just, similar bands. The fans interact, although some Pearl Jam fans that Foo Fighters overrated, which I agree. But it is. I'm just hoping that that's the case. That you do have a Pearl Jam that just said, "Look, we're shutting it down," even before the CDC said anything. They shut it down. I'm hoping that the Foo Fighters are just at one extreme, and that DMB is going to say, "Look, we trust the vaccine. We trust people who's their own free will to make a decision, and then we're going to have everything going." But there is some unknowns. But at the worst case, like I had said, at the worst case, I'm going to Seattle. I'm going to explore the gorge. If they don't have to have a shot. It's weird that I've gotten to that spot. But when I took that plane out in 2019 and just got out there to the West Coast, it was just such a great vibe that the shows were great outside of the Watchtower. And I didn't even care, as much as I like to complain about that Watchtower single closer on night 3, like, oh, that's it, guys. As much as I like to complain about that, it was just the journey was more important than the destination. The destination was amazing, but the journey into the venue, the journey up the hill for the first time, I'm looking forward to seeing everyone out there. Even if the band cancels everything and they say you guys just have to go camping or hang out in the parking lot, like I'll hang out in the parking lot. So
yeah, I can't wait for the Gorge this year. It's gonna be a good time.
All right, and DMB Mamas, thanks for being here as well. We have Typical Times was here, and thank you. This is Mr. John Dix. From the Nashville, Tennessee area. Again, first DMB's live experiences, around 2003. Over 7
on Facebook.
Yeah, and you said over 70. Are you 80 or 70 something?
74.
74. Okay. For some reason, I just know that number kept going up. All your posts is like doom, 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 doom. So, but yeah, 74 shows strong, and just a guy who is very generous, who's educated me, who's given me perspective from things that I didn't experience, given me just perspective of how things were, giving me perspective of where he comes from, and his knowledge of this, and a generous sharer of taper audio that he's been able to get to me, so I can get to listen to some of the early parts of the band, the mid parts of the band that I wasn't here for. Your boy was still trying to pass 5th grade tests, and 6th grade tests, and as the band's riding in Hartford for a 3-night stand, and I was too young to be out there. So thank you, John. Thank you guys who tuned in. Everyone that's watching the restream, that some of you guys watch this Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. Thank you guys who come on. But that's all I got for today. It's your boy Conserviz 34. Peace.